Hi guys, welcome back to the 1980 Art Pod. I'm back. I'm Jesse Fortune here with my co-host Eric Ringman and our special guest of the evening, Tracey Moloney. And Tracey's an artist. It's going to be featured in our upcoming show. What's the show called? Feminine Undertones.
Feminine Undertones.
We know. So what we're trying to do, this is going to be a little different than normal. We're trying to do a whole series of pods with our guests being featured artists in the upcoming show. So it's putting a little more pressure on me and Eric to we'll have to be transparent here.
We're gonna shoot and publish them before the show, which is in 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Right, and we have another episode tonight, so this is going to be somewhat of an abridged version, but it's cool, microwave edition. So welcome to the pod, Trace.
Thank you.
Glad you made it in.
I'm happy to be here.
For our audience that has watched a few pods, we've had guests on before that have been coming to the studio for a long time, or I may know them and Eric's just now known them for maybe a year or two or 3 or 4. But in this case in particular, Tracey and I have known each other long before 1980, which is not...
And also in this case in particular, I've known today's guest for about 15 minutes.
Exactly. So, but you know, I'm kind of fuzzy on it because I'm not sure where I was at in my situation. But I know you had your store. It was by Chester Drawers. So we're here in Costa Mesa, and I think I just got to California, and I'm cruising around trying to find artists and cool art stuff. And I think that's how we met.
Yeah.
In your store.
Yes, exactly. So.
And what was your store called?
Oh gosh, I called it Gallery 17 because it was on 17th Street. You know, very original. And yes, it was right next to the Omelet Parlor and Chester Drawers. And there had been a vacant window space there for several years. And I wound up calling Vaughn's on the property, and I asked them if I could rent the space. And they asked me how much I was willing to spend. So at that time, what year was this that you moved here? That was the year
I moved here in 2000. And I think maybe we met a year later.
I'm going to say 2003, maybe.
Perhaps, yeah.
And I told them $250, $500 a month for a space, prime location. And
it was a pretty cool store.
I'm just glad I made that phone call because I mean rents that time I'm sure were going for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. Now they go for $10,000.
Well, and if the way that they opened was what you're willing to pay, that's when you know the ball's in your end of the court.
Well, yeah, it had been vacant for so many years, and I explained that I was an artist, and I saw the empty space, and I just wanted to hang my artwork in there. It wasn't like I was a restaurant going and putting in a kitchen or anything, and they were very amiable, and I was appreciative, and I had that gallery for 3 years. Unfortunately, it was at the end of my 3-year stint that you had come and you walked into the gallery and you loved it. You were excited and you had just come from Michigan. Maybe you were... Missouri. Maybe you were on a trip or something because if you've been here for 3 years. And you were just looking for gallery space. And so I handed you the keys and I was like, yep, put your stuff on the walls,
Yes.
Start painting in the back, do whatever you want. And... sadly, 3 months later, I think I had to close up because you have that 3-year business plan, and my time was up.
Yeah, it wasn't working out.
No.
Now, I had just come from Missouri. I moved here in 2000, and I finally worked my way from Long Beach to Costa Mesa. And then we met, but what was your tenure like? How long had you been in Costa Mesa? Because you're originally from New York?
I'm originally from New York, Long Island. I love it there, but when I turned 18, I did not want to stay at home for college. And I wound up getting into the Academy of Art and the University of San Francisco in San Francisco. They had a co-op program at the time.
Sweet.
That was before the Academy was the Academy that it is today. And so I had graduated with an advertising degree. I lived in San Francisco for about 10 years and then moved to Orange County in 1998, I guess it was.
Okay. So you arrived shortly before I did.
Yeah.
Did you consider after graduating to move back home to New York?
Oh, no. Once you live in California, once a California girl who's not a California girl moves to California, she never wants to go back to New York, except for a visit.
And
yeah.
is that similar with moving from, because you could very easily maybe try to establish yourself in the city versus coming down to OC, but did the beach call you, or like, all right, how long were you there for? 4 years at university?
Well, 4 years at the university, and then I lived up in Marin for the next 7 years.
Sweet.
So it was 10 years in San Francisco total.
So I'm just curious, like, why? Because it's pretty nice up there too, but sometimes it's definitely different.
It is definitely different. You know, my whole family migrated here to Orange County, so they all moved to Newport, and I decided I'm the only one up there, and I'm going to come down to be with family. Really.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be good news when like the whole family's in Newport. You gotta
go. You gotta pack your bags and
Gosh,
say,
darn it.
I'm
Maybe
on that
I
train.
just will.
That's what my dad said. I'm like, well, you can come out here and like maybe hang out for a while. He's like, I'll be on like as soon as I hung up the phone, it's like a knock at the door.
Yeah.
So when you came, you got your store. We met.
Well, prior to the store, I had been doing murals up in San Francisco, and I was a waitress, making money, painting murals. And when I moved down here, my stepfather, Bob, showed me how to start a business plan. He held me accountable every day, and I started my own business called My Art and Soul. I called interior designers, I called builders, I called everybody, just trying to pitch what I do for a living. And thankfully, it all worked out. And so I never did set foot in an advertising agency. I would say I've been in business now for over 25 years, solely off of painting.
Oh, stud.
Yeah.
We have that in common. My bachelor's was in graphic design. And when I moved to California, I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to paint.
Yeah.
And then whatever happens. But
you make a decision. You're just like, I'm either in it or I'm not in it. You can't have your foot in both camps. It's just
kind of what it takes too, right?
Yeah. I'm not saying you can't have a second job or a side hustle, but you need to focus on what it is you really want. And then if you need to do something else to make money, that's fine too.
Yeah. So for our audience not familiar with Tracey, and we didn't do this in the intro, but you're primarily a muralist. We've painted together. I've seen a lot of your paintings. You've done big stuff like City of Placentia, right?
Yeah.
Big wall stuff on
Big
scissor
walls.
lifts.
Yes.
So would you consider yourself then you're a muralist? I mean, you got your own style. It's all dialed like.
Yeah, no, I consider myself both a muralist and a fine artist because
Sure.
I'm also on the fine art train of being in galleries and doing shows and selling artwork here, so I wouldn't define myself as a muralist.
At the beginning of your career, were you leaning into that mostly?
Yes. The money that I make as a muralist far exceeds the money I make as a fine artist, but that's not to say here or there. I mean, you can make a lot of money in fine art.
Was that true back when you started as much as it is now, or have you noticed much of a difference as far as the ratio?
Oh, well, back when I started, everybody was decorating their houses with faux finishing, decorative painting, and now they all paint their walls white. So nobody's hiring me to faux finish anymore. That had to do with the housing market. When the housing market crashed too, I lost a lot of murals that I did for homeowners, and that's when I went corporate and started trying to find corporate entities to hire me to paint murals. And so I was able to get bigger and bigger jobs as opposed to just the homeowners' jobs, which are all good. No job is too big or too small.
What was one of your favorite memories from painting up in the city, in San Francisco area?
We did a nightclub called DV8, and it was on corrugated steel, and it was underneath the freeway. And
it doesn't sound like the most ideal painting conditions.
No, but it was my first mural, and so it was the most memorable because I had no clue as to what I was doing, but I was trying real hard.
Those are healthy nerves.
Yeah.
What kind of direction did they give you, if any? I mean, in terms of like content or style or like what to do with the space that they're giving you.
Yeah, everybody has their own ideas, and I paint for the client. Their idea was a plane crashing into paradise with palm trees and flowers and a plane crash.
Like a Robinson Crusoe kind of like stranded on a tropical island. Like, my plane crashed, but
yes,
kind
exactly.
of a good place to be stuck, sort of vibe.
Underneath a bridge in San Francisco.
Underneath a bridge in San Francisco. So no, it was not the Golden Gate. It was way downtown, and I'll say it was like underneath the interchanges, underneath the freeway. Yeah, not a bridge, but all I remember is it was very loud above me. Yeah. But that was 1990. 1990. Awesome. Yeah, this was a long time ago.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And then so when your career was starting in San Francisco and you got your first mural now, did you think like you still had any interest in doing advertising, or were you just like, oh, is this working now? I did one, I'll do another one.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the term we, so did you have a partner or someone who was helping you?
Yeah, when I say we, I don't know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, the royal we.
The world we.
Oh, okay.
The world
the
is
Tracey
a vampire.
Enterprise.
I've always had a lot of people around helping me. So whenever I do a mural, I mean, either you're helping me, or Melody's helping me, or
the
somebody's helping me.
Who's your letter guy?
Oh gosh.
He's
all right,
Latino.
don't put me on the spot.
He's Latino, right? I think I can't remember, Mario or something. Because I was Tracy and I get there. So after your store closed, I think it was.
Yes.
I got a call from Tracy, and she was like, "I'm gonna be on, I think, Home and Garden TV."
Oh,
Home
right, we did that TV. I forgot all about that.
So she goes, "Yeah, I need guys. I need people to help." And then she's like, she had seen me paint before, so she's like, "You can do it." And I was in your shoes at that point. Like, now I'm new. I never did a mural in somebody's house. I could do my own work, but now I felt like pressure from more experienced artists asking me to help, but I was gonna do it.
So this is your first one, and it's for the TV show.
It is. But Tracy was it a backyard in Long Beach or something? It was.
So the TV show was a pilot, and they were doing like 3 backyards where they did backyard makeovers, and this is like long before every makeover show came out recently. It was
ahead of the game.
It was ahead of the game.
Wow.
And so I had gotten selected as one of the artists, and it was a Greek-themed backyard, and it was all blue and white. Had to be done in 2 or 3 days. And again, I guess when I always say we, it's because it's never just me. It's always people with me. I would never take credit solely for something that was a communal effort. So that's why I say we all the time. Huh. But no, I don't have a business partner. It is solely I as my heart and soul. Yeah.
Because when I met you, that was the case. But I was just curious if it started differently.
Yeah.
Sometimes these things fluctuate a lot. Since I've been here, there's been all kinds of partners, and certain shows more people help, other shows nobody helps, or nobody's help is needed.
Right.
And so in that one, was it Home and Garden TV or network, or I don't even know what you
I
call
don't
it.
remember the network.
I remember my mom saw it in Missouri
On TV.
Yeah, because I guess the pilot went live.
Yeah, it went on TV.
And what was the backyard? I can't remember. I do remember you saying you like never paint on stucco. Is that we try to bring as much technical advice to our art patrons that might not know this. So if you have a backyard and you want something done, and you have a stucco house, which a lot of people in SoCal do, don't expect a muralist to go up and be like, to paint that, even if it's aerosol. It sucks. So I remember
it's a hard surface.
So you got them to smooth it out.
Yeah.
And what was the main feature? Was it just a fountain or?
That's right. The fountain and the tile, and it was a Greek theme, and it was the blue lines and the blue tile, and then I guess a landscape, like you're looking down at the ocean.
Yeah, I think
it was fun.
I painted like a sidewall over there. She was like, "You do this." She was a good boss. That's why I knew, like Tracy, like you can judge, especially other artists, when there's money to be made or opportunity to be had, and there's a little bit of pressure. There's either a good vibe or maybe I won't do that again. But I was like, I'll work anytime with her, because she made it like very manageable. Do this, when you get it done, there's something else, go into that.
Well, you
So-
also worked on the Mother's Markets projects with me. One of them that was, I did a lot of install work for them, where we paint on masonite at home, and then it gets installed later, at a later date.
For those of you around the world that aren't here in Orange County, Mother's Market is pretty established in Orange County. I'm not sure.
Yes,
Or
it's
is
kind
it?
of a local chain of supermarkets. Yeah.
But they're like Whole Foods before Whole Foods, kind of. And
Yeah.
sometimes they have cafes inside.
Yeah, some of them have restaurants.
And so
salad
that
bars.
was a really good client.
Oh, yeah. That was another good opportunity. It was when they took over the Borders Books on 19th Street. And it was just a dirt lot, and the contractor's truck was there. So I just pulled my car onto the dirt lot, and I walked into the contractor's truck, and I knocked, and the gentleman, Al, he's such a nice guy. He, I told him what I did, and I showed him my portfolio, and he said, "Oh, you have to meet the owners of Mothers. I know they'll have you do something."
A
And
direct connection.
it was just
Love it.
walking in the door, and I think that's always how I've had my best luck, more so than advertising.
Well, it's a good lesson for people to learn, because what you refer to it as luck, I would refer to it as go get it. And being from New York, maybe that's, a good vibe. Like you're like, I want it, and why not? All I can say is no, right?
Yeah, all they can do is say no, and it's what I want. And yeah, that's why it's easy for me to walk in the door, because it's what I want. And I get a lot of no's, but that's okay. I just keep walking, and then I get what I want eventually.
Well, in hearing that, it harkens back to when we had Corey here. I think that was our last episode, and he produces all kinds of like pipes and different glass things. And he was saying he does kind of the same thing. He'll have a case of that stuff, and he goes right into a smoke shop, and he's like not describing his products, he's showing it to you. You can pick it up and touch it, and
Yes.
you get a lot of yeses that way.
Yes.
I like it.
It is walking
But-
in the door.
Yeah, because you'll get 100% no's if you don't even get after it.
Yeah.
You gotta try.
That's why I'm not a big fan of the computer and trying to apply for jobs on their computer, or people these days text me a lot. Like, they don't even reach out. They'll just text, and they want a price. And it's like, so I can't meet you. I can't talk to you. I can't go look at the job site. You just want me to give you a number.
Now, have you adopted since then? And I will admit that I feel you when I hear the term the computer, because that's like there's some kind of age gap or generation gap there where
Is it the phone?
yeah the computer or the internet.
But when people use that expression,
Yeah.
it's very subtle.
Yeah.
The computer. I am older than you guys.
It's all good. I'm not calling you out for that. When I am calling you out, is like there's a chance there where you have to embrace it, because that's where the jobs are coming from, and they're coming in a different way.
Yeah.
And so you either can kind of adapt a little bit or stiff arm it a little bit. I still know certain artists that don't have any social media, and they're very successful, but at the same time, you found, at least on Facebook, I know, and Instagram, that
I have to
for
be
what it's worth, some successes can come down the pipe.
Oh yes,
Or
absolutely.
leads.
Yes,
It's
leads,
different than
friends.
normal.
You learn a lot. I'm not saying that I'm not on Facebook, but to be honest, I wasn't on it until I joined Location 1980. Hence, back to us 10 years later when we met again, and you had said to me,
We re-met.
we re-met. Because, we
Which
separated.
we'll get into in a minute
Yeah.
here, certainly.
And you had said to me, well, we do everything on social media, so you have to be on Facebook because that's how we communicate. And so if you ask me, did I adapt? You said, this is how we do it, and I adapted, and I did it.
That's
But I'm still I don't post a lot. I'm not a big
sweet. I get you.
phone person, not a computer.
I'm sure Jillian might be laughing at me right now, because
I can see her laughing over
I'm
there.
in the same scenario now. It's funny to hear you.
She's getting everybody on our Discord.
Right. Well, and back in the day when Brett and I started Location 1980, I think you applied to like an internship or something like that. I'm not sure
I
what it
worked
was.
here for a little while, and I
But then that
managed-
was Craigslist, so it's even more old school.
Yes,
on the
Craigslist is what brought us together. That's how I found him again. And then
Because she was like, I can't remember how to go. Like you were just like, oh yeah, I couldn't we had a number of applicants or whatever. It took me a second to realize, like, oh, it's Tracey. That we're
So
completely.
you're advertising spaces.
We're
when this was new, or
Actually, we were advertising, I think, internships or part-time kind of help at the gallery, kind of a gallerist, if you want to call it that.
And so I had seen in the OC Weekly, there was an article about him and Brett opening this place up.
Missouri by the Sea.
Missouri. Oh, sorry.
So we have that frame.
Michigan.
that article around here. Yeah.
And so I saw his face, and of course, it's a very unforgettable face. And I was like,
That's could be good or bad.
I said, I got to reach out. And then I had seen the thing on Craigslist, and I'm like, here's the perfect opportunity. So I came walking in the door, and you had only had half the space then. I really,
yeah, we were.
Since then, you've
we
grown.
were abridged.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was cool to reconnect, and once we did, it was neat because we had both come so much further in our career. When I first met you, I walked into your shop, which was a chance that you took by approaching these like grocery store owners, strip mall owners. Can I have the space that's empty? When I came here, it was similar. It wasn't empty at all. It was completely full, and there was no space. And I didn't want to shop. I had already had a few kind of warehouse, office space kind of spots. But then when the opportunity shifted, all of a sudden it was like, try to do this right now. And I took a similar chance. I was like, oh, I have no clue how this is going to go. And at the time when I say we, it was me and Brett. So we found comfort in each other because we were both like, this is pretty ballsy. But at the same time, it was similar to rent at the beach.
Right.
We already did that for years. We could pull this off. We're creative.
Right.
And so we did it, and then it started attracting the right people, to come in. And it's cool that you remember that you started at the Abridged in 1980, because now we're fully expanded.
Oh, absolutely. And good job. Good job.
I really wish we'd have took more pictures. Podcasts back then would have been gold.
Oh,
we had
God.
those episodes.
Yeah.
I wish we had them, and I'm kind of glad we don't, kind of a thing. But now that we can rehash on it, at least we can do that.
Yeah.
And what was the first show? Did you do the Christmas show here, or I can't remember before we started the call for entry stuff?
Honestly, I don't remember. I was just helping you with the figure drawing classes, and then the call for entry came next, and I think we did that for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun, and we did.
That's the we. Yeah.
It is
we.
Ask her more about that, Eric. The call for entry.
Do you know what call for entry is? Have you heard of it?
Entered into a couple.
Okay.
Yeah, with
And
varying degrees of success,
okay.
of course.
Yeah, well,
But
that's
yes,
the name of the game.
that is the name of the game.
Yeah.
And yes, the continual,
Yeah.
like you said, you may get a lot of no's, you got to keep going. I'm sure you've seen that image that's become kind of popular on the internet recently where there's a guy, it's like a cartoon, right? And the guy's underground with a pickaxe, and then 5 inches through the wall, there's this humongous thing full of diamonds, and then he's dejectedly walking away because he's dug 100 yards of tunnel, and he's like, screw it,
I'm done.
just that much further.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people say that this is all, me giving reflection to reiterate a point of yours that I've heard from many artists, which is, do you really want this? Then don't give up. Keep going. And that's folks that have experienced overnight successes, which are usually 5-10 years is overnight, and then those who have taken 20-30 years to get to that success, they've all said that same thing.
Right.
You got to keep it going. But tell me about the call for entry experience that took place here.
I thought I had one of the Celebrating Women.
Oh, okay.
One of the books.
Oh, the books. Yeah, I still have them all.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should bring them this time. Yeah, they're in there
that's
somewhere.
all right. Yeah, I can bring
Jesse
them
was
next time.
off-screen rummaging during my monologue.
Looking.
For all of you audio-only listeners.
Well, when we did the call for entry, it was national, so we had artists from all over. And since the space was so large, we were able to host at least, I think, 40 artists.
It was pretty intense.
And that was a lot of artwork to be heading in our direction and being responsible for.
Tracey and I both had done shows in multiple galleries in Laguna and all over the place, but we had never done. I mean, when those packages started arriving, it was real because we juried it, so we had qualified artists, and out of the hundreds of entries, we only picked the 40, and it was hard to because people were
so
good.
So much good art.
You had to be
you're limited
critical.
to 40, And it's like you just, and
this
40
is like,
sounds like a lot, and when it starts coming,
but when
it
you're
is
getting
a lot.
like 1,000 or whatever it was, and this is like 2013-ish.
I would
something
say
like that?
we
15?
had like 250 people apply, and you could only pick 40.
It was in a...
It's-
Yeah, it was-
250 people, and then are they submitting more than one piece in some cases?
So-
You
Sometimes.
can submit up to 3.
Yeah,
And so
okay.
then you pick 1, or you could pick 2 from the artist. But we generally selected 1 from each artist to try to give everybody wall space rather than
So what was the theme or the...
several themes.
Yeah,
What were they?
and well, what we hit on is that the term, it was one term, and was celebrating. And we did celebrating Southern California, and we did celebrating women, which brings us to our show that's about to happen now. Because people were asking, oh, it's cool you're doing an all-female show. I'm glad you guys did it. It's your first one. And I thought, oh, yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. We did a whole show. But it wasn't any of the female artists here. It was all female artists from around the country.
National.
And what we did is we juried it. We picked the best pieces that we thought, and then we voted on. It was me, Tracey, and then we'd always have a guest juror, a qualified artist. I think at that time it might have been Melody Owens. Shout out to Melody Owens.
Melody.
We picked the best piece was they get the cover of the book. So so the Celebrating Women has, I think it was kind of like almost like a Black Power pose. It was silhouette, yeah, but it was a lady, and she was like fighting for her right to make art.
Yeah.
And it was really successful, and we hit on that term. We're like, because we did a few that weren't, they were okay. We did the Trees of Life, and that was cool.
That was good.
We got, we were trying to pick subjects that were common.
I think we did pets once.
put it
Probably not the
Wasn't
best,
the
but
best one.
we really had a lot of.
So ironically, that sounds like it would be a really good one for Newport.
Yeah.
Nowadays, maybe you were ahead of your
Yeah,
time.
we were way ahead of our time.
But we did pull it off several times, and the first time though, once we did the jury process, we picked the art and we send a letter to the artist, and because we were thinking like, well, we do have a killer gallery, and we are in Southern California, and these people are going to get this show, and one of the best, these artists are going to be able to show in one of the best showcase rooms in Newport and Costa Mesa. So we're like, all right, and then the packages started coming, and we're like, oh, because if it doesn't sell, we got to ship it back to the artist. So we have these like really nicely made, insured artist packages, and we have, they take up a lot more space than you'd think for 40 pieces to hold the gallery.
Yeah.
And then we had to learn a lot about managing the work. So that, I think that was the most gallerist type chopping water and carrying wood that I've ever done, because you were responsible. You were responsible for that moment, for their art. It's like, what if it was my work and I shipped it to Long Island? Or
That's a lot of trust.
Yeah, it's just like, take my baby.
And then you've
put it on
got 40 artists calling you up saying, did you get my art? Did you see my art? Did my art make it okay? And being an artist, I understand where they're coming from.
Fully.
But then you're on the other side, and it's like, am I going to get one more crazy artist?
I've got a lot of shit to do here.
On your stuff
Let alone
come?
field calls.
Yeah, and if you package it correctly, it'll be fine.
Yeah, if you packaged it right, it's fine.
But we learned a lot. 'Cause some
Are
of
you
those,
talking to a neon artist about packaging for shipment?
I watched you make your packages, bro. That was intense.
Yeah, those were good shows.
They were.
I enjoyed those.
They were, and
It was exciting.
I'm glad that we're kind of revisiting that subject matter now. For a long time here, in 1980 in the beginning, there wasn't that many people, and we didn't have that much space, so it kind of made sense. It was just me and Brett. We're business partners. We're doing these art shows. It was very off the hip, like, sounds good, let's do it, skateboard. And then we started working with nonprofits and doing more call for entries and kind of shaping the gallery. And as the space grew, there's opportunity for more artists, because in the beginning there was a lot of it was almost all male artists. Because me and Brett are business partners, both men, and then Jamie came and Spaz, and it was just another guy. We didn't think really anything of it. It was just like
a lot of testosterone in
But it's just like artists are coming. This is working. We're doing it, but then we didn't realize how unbalanced that was until we got more space, and when we really kind of could be more choosy and picky, then all of a sudden we started having more female artists, and we're noticing that the balance. I noticed immediately. We all did, that having a nice balance of male, female, diversity in general, but especially when it comes to aesthetic and just the vibe of the place or whatever, you helped usher that in, so that was really cool. And since then, now I don't know, the scales are tipped.
Yeah, well, we've traversed it
Yeah.
a little bit, even in the short time that I've been here. Because right now we're like kind of 50-50-ish, I'd say. Might be a little bit more women heavy, but when I came in only a couple of years ago, I was one of the only men in the property.
Indeed. Yeah, and it ebbs and flows, but I guess because we were so fledgling at the time, all we knew was just guys,
Just get who you know. Or
yeah, and
whomever.
dudes are tough, and like we had a lot of work to do. This place was not that pretty, so it's like if you did come, like dude, you're gonna work,
too,
yeah. And not that I'm the last person on planet Earth who would say women artists aren't gonna get down with some work, but at the time, this is how it shuffled down. But then years later, it's nice to know that as the expansion of 1980 happened, it includes the contribution of a lot of very qualified female artists. So I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you for at the time, because that was a crucial time. And when we did start advertising interns and helpers, almost exclusively they were female artists.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost no male artists answered that. They didn't answer. They weren't looking. Like they happened to be here, or our buddy's buddy.
Yeah.
But when we started putting it online, like, hey, we're looking for help, we want gallerists, and it was almost all female applicants. So it was a nice shift in our culture here in 1980.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you from all the women artists who've been here.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Helped make this place dope. We're having fun. So the show coming up, we kind of had a big gap. So let's say you did the TV show, and before we reconnected 10 years later, before I got 1980, was there any significant things, like did you buy your house then? Or did you ever move out of state, or did you stay here?
No, I have been here. I don't even want to count the years, but I had already had the house when I started the gallery. I bought the house in 2000.
Okay.
And obviously with housing prices here, I should have moved 23 years ago and bought something else. And then, but that didn't happen, and now it's insane. So I'm very happy with where I live.
I was going to say, you're in a pretty sweet spot. She's over in the east side.
Yeah, east
Okay.
side. So I have what my brother calls Tracey's Fantasy Fun Farm. And it's a very long house, kind of like a train. I'm a corner property. So if you start on the left, I have my vintage travel trailer that I rent out on Airbnb.
Shout out to Airbnb.
Airbnb.
Under the heading Tracy's Fantastic Fun Farm.
Oh no, it's under the.
Because it should
it's
be.
under
Fantastic Fun Trailer.
Yeah, it should be, but it's under the vintage trailer,
Okay.
1970s vintage trailer. Then you go through the fabulous gates to my side yard, and we have our fire pit area. Then a couple of months ago, I had built a greenhouse, but it wasn't big enough, so I made it twice as big. Then you walk a little further. I did have what I call my tiny orchard, but unfortunately some of the trees didn't make it because of pests, so some of the trees had to come down. Right now, before I came here, I was building a bird aviary. I built 2 of them, and they just didn't work out, so I knocked them down. And I've started my 3rd one, which is right in front, and I just love it. I'm almost done. Then you walk past the bird aviary, and you go into the koi pond area, where I have streams and turtles and fish. And that's very tropical, so that's my tropical area with the banana plants. And then if you keep going through there, I did have chickens for a very long time. After 25 years, I had to knock down a chicken coop. So that came down last summer.
Did you take it down?
It's down, and I built kind of a sitting area back there. There's another area to get chickens. I don't have them right now, but there is another area that I have a chicken coop waiting for my chickens, and a whole new garden boxes, corn, squash, basil, you name it. I love to grow stuff. The squirrel just came and devoured all the corn in its infancy. So yeah, cute little squirrel that comes around.
Squirrels are just rats with better PR, man.
Oh man, they are.
So we're in Southern California. Tell some of our audience that's not here. What are some of the pests that you're referring to when you're gardening? Because you have vegetables, fruit, and you also have pets.
Yeah, I have 4 dogs, 4 birds.
So what are you
2
guarding
turtles.
against? In the aviary, you're going to have birds.
Well, the biggest thing is rats. I mean, whenever you have any type of bird seed outside. Well, let me put it to you this way. I don't want to tell the story, but I will. I had the exterminator come, and I said, I've got rats. And he looked up into my corner of the house, and he goes, yeah, I could see one looking at me right now. And he goes, you know what that means? He goes, you got lots of rats.
Oh.
Yeah, if
He
you
goes,
can
'cause-
see them like that,
He
that
goes,
means
because
it's
they're
bad.
nocturnal. And if they're running around in the middle of the day, you've got problems. He goes, you need to get rid of the chickens, get rid of the pond, get rid of the trees, get rid of this highway of grapevines.
Just bulldoze it.
Yeah, just pour concrete, and you'll have no more rats. So I said, I guess
Okay, thanks for the advice, bro.
I guess the rats have a home with me. But I do have a live trap, and we do our best to catch them, and we take them to the back bay.
Now you
Let
have
them be somebody else's dinner.
you have a lot of animals, but you didn't mention cats. Do you have any
I
cats?
don't have any cats.
Have you had cats?
I love cats. I grew up with cats, but
You have 4 dogs.
I have 4 dogs, and the
Nice.
front door is always open. And I've had many neighbors who have cats, and we've got coyotes. We live 2 blocks
Yeah.
away from
Another
the back
pest.
bay.
Another
That
pest.
is the varmint of
So,
our era.
Between
in this
getting
part.
hit by a car or getting eaten by a coyote, I can't keep that cat indoors, and I don't want to come out and find my cat mauled. So unfortunately, I don't have a cat. Yeah, but I would if I didn't live on a very busy corner next to coyotes. How can you have that in the same place?
Because there's a golf course right there too, right?
The golf course is right next
That's
to
where
me
they
too.
that's where they run.
Yeah.
Those coyotes can jump like 8 to 10 feet. So if you think you got a gate up or a fence,
They can't. Well, and I grew
And
up
then,
right around here as well, right? And so it's all suburbs and plenty of pavement. And we had a yellow lab, and for 16 years she was a long runner. And as soon as the dog died, it's like every variety of creature took over the backyard. I mean,
Oh, wow.
the things you could hear at night, raccoons. I don't know if we ever had coyotes in the yard, but one time, like, he was coming home, and I saw a coyote out in the neighborhood at night, so I was chasing it on the motorcycle a little bit, but, like, they're around, for sure. They're right here in the city.
I haven't heard of that deterrent. Like, if you do see a coyote, definitely chase it.
Yeah,
with
just
a
definitely give it
motorcycle.
the rev.
Just give it the rev.
All right, so you got Tracy's
Fantasy Fun Farm.
Fantasy Fun Farm.
Where I feel like I want to do the 1980 podcast first off-site taping, like I want to do an interview in
I'm
there.
certain Tracy would host
Oh, yeah.
this. And she has before. Jeff Winnie, shout out to Winnie. We went over
Winnie.
there several times and painted in the
Did our plein air.
tropical area, which is quite soothing. So I'm sure we could pull that off.
Absolutely. All are welcome.
And you use it for when you do the fine art stuff. So your studio's inside. Mm-hmm. That's where some of the mothers markets. You get a pretty unique
Well, like a,
wall
yeah.
length easel setup.
My house is like a train, so the kitchen, living room, it's all just one big open room, which before big open rooms became a thing. And so I literally, when I did the One Mother's Markets, I had 20 pieces of masonite, 80 feet, in my living room. It completely surrounded me, and it felt like I was in an orange orchard, because that's what I was painting with the
It was
strawberry
pretty cool.
fields and all that. And it was, I wish I had taken a video where I just did a circle of myself in the room, but I didn't.
I thought maybe there's got to be some pictures of that.
Yeah.
That mother's thing. That was fun.
Yeah.
I definitely remember painting something. I don't know what you had me on. And Melody was too.
Yeah, we had done the one for Your Belinda. The one that I'm talking about was for the one on Michelson.
Okay. So
Yeah, I think I did 7 of their stores. 7, 6.
for our audience members, Mother's Market's like a lot like Whole Foods is now, but back then, and also if you've been to Trader Joe's, they usually have a local artist that works at Trader Joe's that does a lot of their in-store signage. But Tracy was doing this way before I think even that was a thing. But they're just the big pieces of masonite are 4 foot by 8 foot, but they could be any length. So they were in-store murals basically, all sized up of local stuff.
Of local stuff. So a lot of the work that I've done, like you were mentioning, I do a lot of work for Old Town Placentia. So they're revitalizing their downtown, And they're doing such a great job to make it more user-friendly. And obviously, since COVID, they were able to turn the streets into little bistro areas. But I've done 4 or 5 murals for them, and it's generally people want Orange County. Everybody here in Orange County, historical, love the orange groves, the train, the old crate labels.
I've worked with you enough and seen your style develop and just be very distinct. It's a good compliment for an artist when people know that's definitely Tracey.
Thank you.
Would you call it like an Americana? It has like a vintage vibe to it. We're looking at one of your cars here behind you.
Yeah.
For those of you at home that aren't watching and are listening, what kind of is that a Cadillac? I think, Eric. It's got the fence.
Look, yeah, but it ain't a
Pontiac?
caddy. I was gonna say maybe a Pontiac.
I'm going to say it's a Pontiac, and this was on 17th Street behind me and Ed's pizza place,
Yeah,
which is...
recognize that sign.
Yeah.
But as far as your subject matter and your style in particular, like it never seems like crazy futuristic or, I mean, what do you like to paint, or like, is that?
Well, I've gone through different series, and so like the cars, when I was living in San Francisco, I was into neon and old cars and very vintage. When I came down here and started getting commissions for murals, it was always about the orange groves, historical Orange County, and I embraced that because I loved to garden, I loved to farm. I wish I could have seen the orange groves when they were actually here. Got here just a little too late.
But now we have Sam's Club and Costco.
Well,
Yeah.
and to fill in with a brief interjection, like for both of you who are transplants of how significant that is.
Yeah.
Okay, in second or third grade, we had an art project where you come up with your own imaginary citrus brand and make an orange crate label for it.
Yes.
And so the whole class, 23rd graders with their little personalized orange crate labels, that was an art project our whole grade did.
Oh my gosh, I wonder if they still do that in the schools in SoCal.
Man, I would hope.
I would hope so too.
There's schools in
I
SoCal.
went to school right over here in Huntington.
Yeah.
And that was a thing we did.
Yeah.
So, what would you like if you're friends with Spaz? Shout out to Spaz 12.
Spaz.
Spaz is like maybe we share in this experience with Spaz, a younger, very potent artist that his style definitely is. It can change, transformative.
Yeah, he's always
not
working.
scared to switch it up. But we know him from the graffiti kind of wall art crews. And it's neat when you're working with someone like that who does something so much different than you, but you vibe as homies
Yes.
to where like you're around enough and you appreciate what he's doing or other artists similar, but it's so different than what you do that it still can't help to rub off on you. Mm-hmm. Or get you to go, you know what, maybe I'll try it with XYZ. Have you brushed up against something like we had Corey on with the glass art, which I appreciate, but it's so systematic and work like. I mean, I don't know.
This
For
production
me,
is so different than what you do.
well, not just that, but like some things that I don't do, I would want to do. But like tattoo, don't want to do it. Blow glass, not interested. But like what Spaz does or something like that, has there been another genre where you've like kind of crossed up against where you're like, yeah, I want to throw my hat in there?
Yeah, and I've actually done it because if I think about it, I have to do it. So I would say like the seahorses. My art, it's on reclaimed wood, and I might even have taken some of the ideas I did from Spaz because he's such a splatter freak, and I started splattering my seahorses. So even if your art styles are different, you'll look at somebody's work and see just one thing they did with a brush stroke or paint, not a paintbrush, but a toothbrush. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, I like the way that looks. And it's not the same type of art at all, but you merge it together. So
it's turned into an unofficial segment on our show that it's very beneficial for other artists to work around other artists that are either at their level or above them or below them, but potent enough to make you at least pay attention for 5 minutes. Like, what is that? How is that working?
yeah.
Why is it so cool? Or that definitely doesn't work. Don't do that. So going forward, what would you think, like, you've had a pretty decent career. What would you call it, 20 years? A couple of decades? 25 years?
Yeah, I don't want to say it out loud. 25 and strong.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of artists, don't even make
a tenth of that.
make a year, or they change, or they fold, or they have to give in at some point, or do a regular job, or do their art on the side, or it gets a demotion. But
Life happens.
You
People
stuck
have to adjust.
Absolutely,
to life.
but
Yeah.
you stuck to your guns, and so going forward, what would you see like your style evolving into, or what would you want to do, like legacy style, like if you left a mark on Orange County or the world with art?
I would just say moving forward with what I've already done. I mean, not to say I've left my mark and everybody knows me, but I feel like I've left my mark. I've painted big places. The public sees it all the time, whether they look up and see it or not. It's always in front of them. I just want more jobs like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that are public.
Well, outside of them or what people think, regardless if they acknowledge it or not, we know you did the work. But like, let's just say you have a benefactor that says, here's a briefcase full of gold coins. Do whatever it is you want to do.
Okay, so I have a different idea.
What would you do in that scenario?
So I do play the lottery, and I do believe I'm going to win.
Sweet.
If you don't believe you're going to win, then you obviously won't win. You have to believe you're
Or
going to
play.
win. You got to play to win too.
There's probably one guy out there, and I'd love to do a psychological interview with that
Whether-
individual, but anyhow.
Whether it's the lottery, a benefactor, a phone call in the night, I stub my toe and the insurance guy gets me $1 million. I don't really care how the money comes to me. I'm not that specific. What I would like to do is start, and when I say something like Location 1980, this here is urban. I would like it to be out in the boonies, not too far, somewhere here in California. Oh, wait, if I had to pick a place, it would be Cambria. And there's this road called Santa Rosa Road, and on that road are
Is
big...
it near Santa Rosa?
No, it's just the name of the road.
Where's Cambria? Is that
Cambria is
central?
right
Right below San Antonio.
Hearst Castle.
Oh, okay.
So
Kinda
it's
Central Coast.
above Santa Barbara, and then you go by Cayucas, and then there's a little town Harmony that has all these artists there who do black.
Population 18.
10, yeah, exactly. I love Harmony.
So buy the property in
So
Cambria.
I buy the property, and I would have it run. I don't want to say by artists, but it would be like a.
Because that never works.
Yeah, that never works. It would kind of be an enclave, not a permanent place to live, but a place where you could go and do
Artist residency.
Artist residency, that's the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm such a farmer, I love land, I love space, I also love urban, I loved New York, I love LA, I mean, I love it all, but if I was going to live somewhere, it would be much more rural, and I'd have traveling artists coming, working the farm, painting their stuff, and then go figure out where you're going to sell it. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so that's what I would do. It isn't like, oh, here's $1 million, what would you do? I'd buy a place, like land,
Sure.
that's the first thing I would do.
Yeah, just the idea of
But
of what
it's
it is.
always a we, it's never a me.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, we can make that happen. We have
Yeah.
a couple high-level audience members that are just waiting to pull the trigger on
Yeah,
something like
right?
Well, last night we were at somebody who now runs their own studio.
Stephen
and runs
Nakamura.
workshops. Yeah, shout out to the Nakamura's.
Steven Nakamura,
Steven.
Christine Nakamura. They run Ancient Vine Studios in Long Beach.
But that's a seed of this place. And he directly said that even last night. He's like, I got inspired by what you got going here, and now he's got his own going thing.
I was very...
Lauren, who we've had on the show, wants to build kind of her own version of something like this in Australia. So,
Down under.
inspiration,
Yeah, that's cool. That's neat.
it flows from her.
Well, I think creative people like being by creative people.
Amen.
Yeah. Because we don't work in a 9-to-5 environment, and we don't have that normal structure of
the camaraderie.
Yeah, of seeing the same people every day. I mean, we kind of come and go into each other's lives. Obviously, if you're all living in the same building, you see each other every day, but
Or the same farm or whatever.
yeah, same farm.
But there is that ebb and flow. I mean, even here, where I'm a regular and I've got my spot,
Yeah.
there is a certain ebb and flow of my own frequency and what kind of days that might be, and I
Right.
see it happen with other folks.
Yeah.
And so those overlaps will grow and shrink and
Yeah.
morph and on and on.
That's the artist life.
Amen.
It's very unstructured, but perfectly in balance.
So I say it has the kind of structure it needs to.
Yeah.
It may not appear structured to the untrained eye,
Right.
but it has its own sort of structure for sure.
It does.
And a structure that for many of us works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah.
It's a different. That's what's fun about doing this podcast now. We've had several guests, all different walks of life and different artistic experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But we're finding these commonalities now where coming together always really helps.
Yeah.
So it's almost like that should be like, even in art school when they don't tell you about a business plan and they don't tell you about maybe finding other artists. Yeah, when I came to California, that was my mission, my sole goal. She was showing you something. I was like, well, the first thing I got to do is find other artists, or I'll just kind of go crazy, because I'm not going to the corporate world. There's no water cooler talk. so
Yeah,
to speak.
exactly.
And I've done enough side hustles to know, like, even when I started my art career, I was doing a whole nother career just to do my art career. And it was like, whatever I have to do is fine, but then I'm just leaning towards that camaraderie with the other artists, like however it happens to be. And when I've been traveling too on Epic Art Quest in different countries, you still kind of stumble your way into that. And it's pretty fun. And it's nice to have this now where we can share that with other artists, and
Yeah.
young artists can listen to this and maybe take inspiration. It's like, if it's not working, maybe you want to grow up. It doesn't have to be old school mentorship. Like, I know how to shoe horses. I'm going to teach you for 12 years, and you're going to be a shoe horse master. But it's like maybe there are other art colonies and art conglomerates around the different cities, and you should seek it out, find it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it just reminded me of something when I was in college, and yes, it's advertising major, and I went to the job board at the college, and a muralist was in San Francisco, and he was looking for an apprentice, somebody to work for free.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that would be fun. And so I'd never painted a mural before, never thought of it, and I met this dude, and he was painting sur la table, that fine cutlery and kitchen stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started the mural, and then I was up on the scaffolding, and people were watching me from below, and they're like, that's beautiful, and I'm painting, and I said, oh, it's not mine, I didn't paint it, and they're like, well, it looks like you're the one with the paintbrush.
Reality check.
Yeah. So I said, oh, maybe
That's
I
hilarious.
can do this. And I remember his little tagline was, anything, any size, anywhere. And he painted huge buildings in
Okay.
L.A.
That's a hell of a
to these
pitch.
businesses. And I kept that in my mind. I never stole his tagline, but my mindset was anything, any size, anywhere, I'll paint it. As long as you're paying me, I'm not saying you don't have to pay me. I'll paint for free for a charity or for somebody I want to paint for free for, but generally this is how I make my living. Anything, any size, anywhere. I'll paint a little bumblebee. I'll paint the side of that 7-story building. Doesn't matter to me.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, if people did want to hire you to paint a little bumblebee or a seven-story building, where would they find your information? Where would they come to?
So you go to www.myartandsoul.net. You could find me there. My phone number's on there. Contact information.
Pick up the phone. Don't
Pick up
text
the
it.
phone.
Yeah.
Don't text me. Call
She
me.
wants to hear
I like
the-
to talk to you.
Yeah, that's good. That's a
Yeah.
good pitch.
Yeah.
And considering we're going to have a show with all female artists,
Yes.
and I know this from my mom working amongst men in the auto industry. My mom and my Aunt Susie both are retired now, auto workers. The art world's a little bit different because it seems like there's a lot of female artists, and some people would say there's a certain ceiling that maybe only females control in the art world. I'm not sure. I haven't got there yet. But I'm speculating. What I would like to ask you as a successful female artist, is there advice that you would give, or there's bridges walls you ran into being a female artist, not just an artist, but specifically as a female artist? Or is there something you would tell a younger female artist, like, how to overcome anything, any obstacles? Or
I hate to be so straightforward, but I really haven't had any issues with being a woman. And if there were issues, I was unaware of them, so it never affected me mentally.
That's refreshing.
Yeah,
that's
and
great.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I think I've gotten enough jobs where it wasn't. I never felt like I was competing against a man.
Okay.
It was always, may the best artist win.
Cool.
Because you don't know who else is bidding. They don't tell you.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I've never had an instance come up in the art world where I've had an issue.
Well, that's great. That's
Yeah.
unexpected. That's a great answer. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot with that. But
No,
I was
it's funny because I was like, how do I answer
thought
this? Because I don't have an answer.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be this one time, fuck that guy or whatever. I'm glad it didn't have to happen.
That's strictly for the dating world, not for my art world. Everybody I've met in the art world's been great.
That's
Fair
another
enough.
podcast that we're thinking about starting
that's
soon.
next week.
That's cool. Well, with that, Trace, would you like to add any other advice for young artists or
Commentary or
art
additions
fans?
of any kind, really.
Yeah, art fans there, or just anything about the show coming up, or
I'm excited to do the show. I hope everybody comes to the show. If you're local here in Costa Mesa, please take your Uber and join us. I think I'm going to get a lot of questions about why the paintings that I'm putting in the show has anything to do with women undertones.
well, we specifically kind of made a non-themed show because we wanted everybody to do their
Yeah, the theme isn't.
to do their best.
The theme is not femininity.
Undertones? Oh, I thought it
It's-
was a show of.
I think the lack of that is the point of the theme.
Yeah, yeah.
That, hey, this is art from women, and it
Yes.
may not
Got
contour to any
Yeah.
traditional understanding of
safe.
femininity
You're safe.
whatsoever.
Awesome, then
You're
I'm
totally
safe.
safe.
So your
But I
your
came up with an
Nighthawks-esque.
answer.
I would say your Nighthawks-esque portrait of this car
Yeah.
is a perfect example of that. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
But you said you might have come up with the answer.
Well, I'm actually showing my crow paintings. I do a lot of crow paintings because I love crows. And my answer was going to be all the crows in the painting are female. And then,
There you
how
go.
do you know that? Well, I painted
Well, I
them.
painted it.
And so I know they're all female.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that was...
Well, with
You can
that,
wear a little magnifying glass and let people borrow it during
That's
the
it.
show.
well, we look forward to seeing what piece you do put in the show.
Thank you.
And we want to say thanks for getting us kicked off. Like I said, we're about to do a whole blitz of as many episodes as we can get before the show.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun 2 weeks.
Yeah, and so
For our listeners.
yeah,
For your listeners.
Tracy's first, and some of these episodes are going to be a little shorter than normal, but we'd like to just get to know our guests, and you might come back on for sure. In
I
the
was going to say,
future,
I'd
so-
love to be a guest, and yes, please, when you guys are ready to do a little show at my house and you want to interview somebody else over there, that's
I
fine.
love it.
Yeah.
We got our spot. Thanks,
Yeah.
Trace.
Very down
Absolutely,
for that.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Cool. Well, with that, we'd like to say thanks for listening to another episode of Location 1980's Art Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Fortune, my co-host, Eric Ringman, and our special guest, Tracey Moloney.
Yay, yay.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
And,
Oh, that's right. That's my... Why did I say yay, yay? Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, she's
Edit
a
that
whoop,
one
whoop.
out.
Cheers, guys, and thanks for supporting your local art scene. We appreciate it.
Cheers.